You understand? So you must go from that individual preference to a partnership. No selfishness anymore. You start learning how to embrace somebody else. Yours. So your comfort at this point in time begins to negotiate with yours. It's not about you anymore. In fact, the truth is that if they don't feel comfortable, you cannot feel comfortable. If your wife is not comfortable, but back then you will lie down, sleep will not come. You can close your eyes, that sleep will not come. And vice versa. So you go from an independent to interdependent. Because there are things that Allah has given you that Allah has not given spouse. And there are things that Allah has given your spouse that you have not given. So you begin to rely upon it. I was teaching one of my friends recently. She was like, I'm thinking of I was doing calculation instead of buying inverter. I'm thinking, I said, why are you stressing yourself? Marry a man. He will carry that burden for you. Yes, so he will starve himself just to make sure that there's inverter in the house. So your strength is now shared, not in solitary, but when you begin to bring, each other's needs before your own desires. And now we come from that desire, where you go from desire to spirit. It's my desire that every summer, I have to go to summer trips. I need to go to Paris, I need to go to Dubai, these brothers are not just. But reality now comes that there is responsibility. Yeah, you want to go for summer trip when house rent is in December and you don't know whether your husband has paid for it. And that summer trip you're going to be spending nothing less than what? 5 million, right? So reality comes to play, your responsibility comes to play, and it's not about your desires anymore. Now, you must answer to who you serve. And if you're truly serving Allah, serve Allah union. And that is why there is barakah in everything. So marriage changes more than our status, it also changes our identity. We're talking earlier and we laughed about it, where your expectation will fit reality. This is what I thought, I finally did what I got. So there are certain misconceptions and expectations that we have in marriage. And some of these have been sold to us by the so-called ideals of our society on how romance should be. Romance, not love. So there's an expectation that if love is there, once I love you because we will always agree. No. I somebody doing like this already. You will train tire. You will not always agree. Even me as a twin, I don't always agree with my twin. Even with your parents, you don't always agree, you will fight. That's the matter of somebody that's been brought up with a different background, different exposure, different identity. Definitely, you will not always agree. You will agree to disagree, but it's not failure. The failure is learning how to handle the disagreement. Another expectation, love will solve everything. You will know that it is that love, go, that is the crux of the problems. Not the crux of the problems, but because a madman cannot annoy you. A stranger walking on the street cannot annoy you. It is the person that you love. That the person will just see you like, that's it. Do you understand? It's the person that you love that knows that you're button and the person knows your pain points. Exactly. So love will not always necessarily solve everything. One thing that I'm certain is that communication solve more than love. Most times, and we're still going to get there, what you assume that your spouse should know, what you assume that the other person ought to know. Now remember, what the ultimate thing is spouse, right? But for a parent, also understand that this is between you and your children. You have siblings, it's between you and your siblings. If you're lucky, your parents are alive, it's between you and your parents. So in a relationship, never lean on assumptions. And you ought to know now. She should have known. And we've been married for 10 years. She should know. I don't like my meat like this. I like it to be cut in chunks. No, I don't like sardine fish. I like crocker. But if you don't communicate it, you might just think that, oh, I'm giving him something new. Finally, another expectation, marriage will complete me. Sisters, brothers, if you are half, you get it right and become what quarter. Marriage will not make you 100%. It will detract from you. So the essence is not going to marriage incomplete. The essence is to go complete as an individual, know what you have, find what he has, merge it together and build it. So if you come with cement and paint, and the brother has the louvers, fine doors, ceilings, how can we merge it together? And have a fine house, have a fine house. But you cannot go incomplete and think that when you marry, automatically you become complete. Pretense. Marriage will expose what is within you. It will expose what is within you, what is inside of you. That's exactly. If you were, in fact, I never give myself credit. I say, I'm not a patient person. Marriage has taught me to be patient. Must learn it. You don't have it, you have peace, right? And one of the greatest shocks in marriage is discovering ourselves. My father will probably laugh and rolling his graveyard if he heard me saying that. My father used to fight me. You have to eat okele to be strong. You are African, you're Nigerian. I say, no, come on, daddy, no, I'm not gonna eat it. Food is food. And in his house, I will stay and I will not eat okele for. Honestly, like in 6 months, almost a year, I just realized that eat okele. I hear. I see my timetable now, every day. So there is also this myth that we sell to ourselves, and that myth compatibility. What is compatibility? Some people will now even tell you, let's test ourselves before marriage. How do we know that we are compatible? Particularly, let's be real. They say these things to get you, to program you into a mindset that is not originally yours. How compatible do you want to be? Even my twin was still not compatible, and we're in the same room, and we shared the room before we came out and we shared the junior. But still not compatible. There is no such thing as a false compatibility. We seek the wrong things sometimes. There is nothing like the perfect spouse. Because who is perfect for you is perfect for someone else. And you can imagine if Allah gives you room for 4. So who are you perfect for? You are perfect for 4 women, I mean. Do you understand? So many people seek the idea of a perfect spouse, unlimited chemistry. Love will work now. After all, before marriage, my body butterflies in my stomach. Butterflies will die. You will look for the ghost, you don't find it. There will be instant understanding. All those things that your hormones do during the infatuation stage, and we will get there. There's zero compromise required, and everything should just work perfectly. Islam encourages us that the suitable spouse is one whose deen and character aligns with yours. Whose deen and character aligns with yours, one who is God-fearing. And please, sisters, if you're still saying 6 packs will disappear one day to become 1 pack, 1 pot belly pack for you. That fine hair, desert encroachment will come, you see a bald-headed man in his 40s. You know what we're talking about now. See the brother here. But really, if you find a man who is God-fearing, he will tolerate all your excesses and your shit. Why? Because he knows that it is for the sake of Allah in this union. If you marry a woman who is God-fearing, before she does anything, even when you annoy her, the first thing she's thinking, I have to answer Allah. I have to be answerable to Allah. So even the whisperings of shaitan will not penetrate her eardrum to her brain. So what actually matters? Your beauty will fade, definitely. You will not look like this forever. You have your grandma, go and tell her, grandma, let me see your picture when you're a teenager. Right? Even this brother here, you can see desert has already encroached him. Look at him. Go and ask him to show you his picture when he was. No. The brother in blue in the middle, not you. I don't mind him. That he knows. Let us see his picture. Do you understand? But really, in reality, your wealth will fluctuate. There is nobody that will tell me that, since I started making money, my bank account has not gone beyond. Sometimes your bank account will see red. And the next week, the next month, Allah's baraka is on this again. You keep seeing that your wealth will fade. If you meet with a man on the days when his bank account is red, nothing gives guarantee that his bank account will, be good. And when you meet him on the days when his account is, there is no guarantee that, the days when the accounts are red, status shifts. But one thing that remains true to every individual is their character. If you are a liar, whether they take you to China or India, you still be a liar. Whether you marry a rich man or a poor man, you still be a liar. If you have integrity, no matter where you are placed, everybody will say, we can what? Vouch for him. We can vouch for her. So your character remains. Now, marriage does not create that character. What it does is that it reveals it, just like what money and power does to a lot of people. Marriage reveals your character. So tell her you didn't have money, you were humble. This man thought that you are humble. You are wearing 3.5 years of hijab. It's like, perfect wife. She's calm, she's cool. Then the money starts coming. You now realize that this is not that hiring now. Let the hijab go halfway. Mind yourself. I'm coming to brothers. Then the hijab goes small. And then with it comes the whole Iberaga, me too. I am there. How dare you talk to me? It reveals what you have on the inside. It doesn't develop, it doesn't create your character. Marriage. So even when you're saying I can mold her into what I want, I can mold him into what I want, say passage. If his father didn't do it until he read the right page of marriage, who are you? Right? So just like marriage, just like when you're under pressure, it simply turns off the heat and the heat is turned off. Whatever is inside, better or worse. That's when you hear the woman say, I'm managing you. Not because I married you. I married you because A, B, C, D. You don't go there. And funny enough, all of these traits, the opposites, line in our system. So it's either you're patient, married you one. In the face of when you have to be out to the husband, in the face of challenges you face, in the face of financial pressures, in the face of all the turbulence, and you will face it. Because the shaitan is not going to go to the clubs to meet people. It will come to where Allah has said marriage is 50% of your day. That means you have automatic seed to enter of gender. So shaitan doesn't want you to have that seed. And that's why I keep telling couples, marriage is a battlefield. But it is not a battle between the couple. It is a couple against it. Because that path is already you already have, you can stay in your marriage. Be chasing it, adhere to all that the deen said to that. You already guaranteed level 3 heaven or level 4 in a gender. So that's what the shape does. So the same pathway that has your patience, same place that houses your, the same way that houses your generosity, the same way that houses your selfishness, the same place that houses your empathy, the same place that houses your wickedness, I don't care, I'm indifferent, and the same place that houses humility, is the same place that houses. So it is one or the other. You can't be humble and proud. It's not possible. You can't be nice and wicked. Do you understand? That is not to say there's anybody who is 100% nice without wickedness. Without wickedness. Right? But always ensure that the positives outweighs that right values, they are empowered over wrong values. Those right values becomes your identity and character. Identify you. So marriage becomes a mirror. Sometimes the person will struggle the most with sex. Think about it. Every time you fight with somebody else, the things you're fighting about, when you are narrating it, go and face the mirror and say, most times it is yourself you're fighting. Because if another a third person will hear the person's one narrating of the same problem, totally different. So we see people with what lenses that we wear. The sister has a shade on her head. She wears those glasses and the entire room will be what dark for her. If that brother goes into the sun, I'm sure those are photochrome lenses. It will turn black. You see everywhere dark. My own clean shades will see bright color every time anywhere. So usually we see things through the lens of it. And here I just want to talk about some beautiful characters that have gone through different stages of becoming in different relationships. First, I want to talk about how he became who he was for companionship. And most times when you see, one beautiful thing is Allah shows us the lives of prophets in different phases of their lives, but most often than not, it is not one person that was a criminal who has now faced redemption, who has now becomes, the prophet of the Nabi of Allah. No, most often than not, they have proven themselves in character. Then Allah selected them. So even before marriage, you must prove yourself in character. You must become a wife material before you become a wife. You must become a mother material before you become a mother. And there are so many stages. When a child is born, at that point in time, you're just a child and an infant. Everybody forgives you for what you do. The next thing you realize, I have siblings. I'm a child. From a child, you become a sibling. From a sibling, you become a teenager. You start discovering things about yourself. From that, you now become a young lady. If you are lucky, you have time. If you are not lucky, somebody marries you immediately. You become a wife. From the wife, you become a companion. From a companion, you become a mother. From a mother, you become any other things. You become a doctor, you become a lawyer. You have 2 children are fighting, you are intervening. You become many other things. You become a chef. You become everything, in fact. So we are always becoming, because life is a journey, it's not a destination. So the Prophet Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, the first dream he had to mark his destiny was, he said, Abu, father, that's dream. I dreamed that 11 stars, moon and sun, did what? Bow down to. Father said, that's a great thing for going to be great, but you must not reveal this to brothers. So you had an expectation. I'm going to be great. The stars and the moon and the sun will bow down to me. But what was the journey to achieving that dream, that vision? First, his brothers threw him in a well, got betrayed, probably even thought he was going to die. Next, he was thrown into slavery. From the moment of slavery, he now became what again? He became tested in several ways. with the ultimate test of temptation. And at that point in time, he couldn't take it again. Say, Allah, the prison is better. Do you know that maybe perhaps at that point in time, he had said, yeah, Allah, even me becoming a minister is better for me. Maybe he would have skipped prison life. Allah would have made him a minister. But there are certain things that he picked up and learned. There was a becoming that he became in that prison. That if he hadn't gone through prison, he wouldn't have finally become. So he went to prison. Somebody had recognized his innocence. Oh, when I'm released, I'll be informed. Very well, you know. And then again, he waited, and Allah caused that person to forget because he had to endure those periods in the prison. Okay, and then finally, what happened when his final character was built? He had a dream. Nobody could interpret. He came, and that didn't just give him wisdom. At that time, he had now grown beyond that character. He had grown wisdom. So when he interpreted the dream, he just didn't interpret the dream for the interpretation of the dream. He interpreted the dream and gave the solution to the problems that we had. Said, no, what will happen is that during the 7 years of surplus, we will prepare like this, we will do this, we will do this, so that when the 7 years of famine come, you know, Egypt. And finally, he was ready for that leadership because at the time, in fact, that was the one singular thing that took him from being just a prison release, you know, an ex-convict to becoming a peace. And eventually, what happened? That his dream came to pass. You know, his brothers, his father, everybody came and did well. So it is okay. So he had that expectation. It's okay to have an expectation. It's okay to have a dream. It's okay to have a vision. But it might not necessarily fall out. That you go to a mango tree, shake it, doesn't mean it's you. You know, you expect mangoes to fall. So imagine that it is oranges that now fall on your head or apples. Do you understand? So that is the beauty about expecting and then the reality of the journey itself. Now we have the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam and his wife Hajar. I love the story so much because, you know, in the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu there's the lessons in it found. It is the very essence of, you know, the two religions. Christians to, you know, they date back to Prophet Ibrahim, the Muslims date back to Prophet Ibrahim. There is so much about his life that there is to read. But particularly this now, I'm taking this as a story of Prophet Ibrahim. So Salatus is what the first was they were denied the bearing the fruits of union, the child. They've long awaited the child. Then eventually was born. Next thing came the instruction, take them to a barren land. I mean, somebody will say, but if it's God that is talking to you, God should tell us to go from Nigeria to Dubai, or from Nigeria to Paris. God say go from Nigeria to Niger. It doesn't make sense. A barren land, nobody, no community, no water, no valley, waterless. But what did she do? It is a command from Allah, my husband. Did you say it's from Allah? It's not that you are thinking it. It's not that something happened. It's not because of Sarah. But I will go with you. There was a trust in the husband. There was a trust in the process, and of course, total tawakkul, reliance in Allah. So that happened, but that didn't just stop there. In it, because she trusted that this was from God, she was ready in her expectations. She wanted, maybe she thought, oh, where Allah is sending us, there'll be comfort. But they didn't need comfort. There'll be stability. They didn't need stability. There'll be protection. It was a barren land, a desert. They didn't even find water. What did she meet? Certainty, emptiness, but still in need. She could have run away, mind you. He didn't tie her with chains. Just dropped her in the chair and the child, and he looked back. But there was what? That's total obedience and dancing on that. And she started saying, Allah, something has to happen. I'm here for a purpose. She started running from Safa to Mara. There was nobody there to tell her. Do you understand? But she ran from that point back and forth, back and forth. And then Allah could have released Zamzam at Safar. Allah could have released Zamzam at Marah. But what did Allah do? Where she left the child, it was her that was doing the efforts, mind you. But there's that bond between the mother and the child. She was the one running back and forth, but it was where the child now struck his foot. Zamzam was full. It is not always that the expectations are the ways of Allah. It's not all the time that the way we imagine things, the way that it must happen. Your brain cannot encompass it all. The ways of Allah is not the ways of man. So, what did we find in this story? He trusted Allah. And because she trusted Him, because she trusted Allah, she trusted His words. That's what we can make progress. Sometimes, yes, our spouse wants to make a decision. We're not following them because we know we are always right. We are always right. But even when your husband is wrong, just say, because of Allah, let me just follow him. Allah has made him the head of the household. Yes. So instead of you to spend 2 hours to get to the bathroom, if you will now go and turn all the right around and then end up spending 5 years, maybe, just maybe, so once tawakkul is absent from the home, you find yourselves fighting because you think it is about it. You think it's about your knowledge or your wisdom, or your power, or your might, or your finances. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But when there is total tawakkul, both from the husband, things don't look so smooth on the outside. The people outside will be looking at you like $1 million. They'll say, what is going on? See Ibrahim and his wife. Everything just looks. So strong marriages are not built on shared attraction. It's not about finding and finding for you. They are built on trust. Also, when we look at the story of Prophet Musa, Musa was a fugitive, was on the run because the king had caught him after he killed somebody. All he had when he started running, he ran from the point where he had nothing on him. All he had was his strength and what? Absolutely nothing. And just relied on Allah. And he wanted to run away and he kept running. But you see, when he got to a point, he saw these two ladies, he saw some sort of injustice. These people were watching their bloods because they were born. But then these two ladies weren't able to do so. And what did he have? He had strength. So he employed his strength. He was not doing it so that he was going to show that he's a macho man. No. He was not doing it to create some kind of attraction for himself or to go and close them. He didn't go there and start saying, yeah, a fine babe, let me help you. You know, right? So he didn't go there to do that. No. He went there to honestly and sincerely deploy his services and know that the Lord. And so when the daughters went back to the father, he said, the best person is the one who is strong. He didn't ask us for payment. He didn't ask us. He just sincerely. And back in those days, that was very strange, unique trait. I want to believe in our time, it is still strange and unique to find somebody to trustworthy, especially in your So why does this matter for marriage? The father did not choose Musa. He didn't choose him for his wealth. He didn't choose him for his family name. Oh, he was brought up in that king's palace. No. He chose him for his strength, his trustworthiness, for that inspiration. Look, if you have that intuition, if you have that God factor in you, there's an aura that beams around you. Fellow God-loving people can identify it. You know how they say kindred spirits identify each other, right? You find parts. When you see similar like you, so the foundation of a healthy marriage is not just a status quo, it's a built-in character. And the final one I want to talk about is the relationship of Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam and her unborn child. You know how it was back then to talk about chastity for a lady to be a virgin. In fact, you dare not go into a married and you hear that this one is not here there. Now that wasn't just it. When Allah gave her the inspiration, the first thing he said, you must isolate yourself. And you were not allowed to speak about it. So there was so much misunderstanding, but she couldn't come and say, it's God that told me. Oh. So everybody had their own imagination and look at her, the one that got herself chased, and she's pregnant, she went to go and stay. And there was fear, and there was uncertainty. The only comfort she had was probably she kept rubbing her stomach, talking to Allah, talking to that child. Oh, you want this, you that. So even before the child was born, there was a strength of trust. He was born with entire love encompassed through that period of isolation where his mother kept having nobody to talk to. So there is that emotional resilience. That's why it's important when you're pregnant. From when you are pregnant, don't think the child cannot hear you. Don't think it's too little, he cannot hear you now. Speak what good. Speak only good words from when you're pregnant to when you have that child. It is not when you are saying, oh, he's 2 years old, close his ears, he's not supposed to hear. He has heard all the rubbish you have said, recorded, and it's somewhere within him. So this is also very important in our relationships between parents and children. We try not to reflect our anger upon the child. Now, there is a gap that actually creates a lot of conflict in marriage. And what is this gap? First, you have the expectation. I expected him to be this. After all, he came from the house of Alpha. His father was an Alpha. His other father was the Imam here. The third, and all of that. So you have an expectation. When you marry him, you now find that he's a regular guy. Like this one. He listens to music, he does this, So there's an expectation that you have. And it's because we put our best foot forward. Right? So when you meet people, you're trying to impress them, whether you like it or not. So you put your best foot forward. What happens is that you're also creating a facade of who you are, and the next person to line up. And sometime in marriage, you're tired of putting up this facade, Joe. You now show your true color. And the person is like, sure. You mean you can do this? But you see, that's where there is no communication. Communication is for this. If you can communicate, because nobody is a mind reader. Your spouse cannot read your mind. Neither can you read their minds. So you must be able to communicate. And then you see, this communication comes from knowing who you are from the inside. And if you do that, sorry, I just need to take a 2 minutes break. Someone like me. Why don't you turn the chair? Raise the question. Sorry, I've been putting you on the head. So yes. Is that better? All right. So then reality comes in. Now, in that reality, you must re-communicate what was communicated before. In the beginning, you were just communicating wrong, especially if nobody guides you through the kind of conversations that should. Some people talk about, I just want to have 2 children. Some men will say, okay, God gives us 1 girl, even if it's a girl, I don't mind. Then when you now give birth to the girl and pressure comes from his family, then you come, you must give birth to a man who, so you will give birth to 10 girls before you find that 1 boy. You say, who will carry my family traits? So, but communication is very important. And then after that becomes the interpretation. Always, you see, between this interpretation and when you react, or whatever kind of, this is exactly where you must get it right. How you interpret the matter that happens and how you react. Always ask a question. What's going on? Am I misunderstanding this? Most often than not, you find that you probably, because like I told you, it's all about perspectives. What shades of lenses are you wearing at that point? Are you wearing a dark lens? Is he wearing a blue lens? Are you wearing a purple lens? Depending on how you're seeing it. But if you do not ask and understand where the other person is coming from, it's very hard to appreciate what's going on. It's hard, see, except you're a madman or a madwoman. Nobody wakes up saying, I'm annoying my husband today. I want to annoy him. You might be possessed by the devil to do that, right? So, but unfortunately, when we act, we automatically what affect. Our actions always affect the other person. The other person. So if you don't communicate, especially like you don't ask me questions, maybe you should not ask me questions. If they don't ask you questions, they'll misunderstand you. And they misunderstand you, fight will come. When the fight comes, you don't have peace of mind. And what happens? You know, say, oh, I have come, go and marry another wife. Marry another wife, you get the bigger. So, and that's just the cycle of it. Communication is very key. Communication is very important. And it helps us not to misread a situation. It helps us get the actual essence of what is happening. It helps us to respect one another's boundaries. Yes. So we have deal breakers. This is what I don't like, but you must be able to communicate it. If not, you leave your spouse assuming. An assumption cause killer of peace in a home. So what does each spouse bring to the marriage? And I always say this, we all have the equity that we must bring on board. And what are these equities? So for a man, Allah has said, his equity is what? Provision. Provision financially, provision in terms of protection, provision. That does not say the man does not have emotions, but his primary responsibilities and his provision. That is why a man will always be frustrated if time for salary comes and he has not been paid. He looks at his account and the account is in red, everybody around him. But it is challenging his primary responsibility, his primary mandate to what? To provide. And for women, what is your equity? What do you bring to the table? You must be able to nurture his resources, nurture him. He's a big baby, nurture him. The children don't call, you must care for them. You must nurture and care for them, and that is your responsibility. If you like become a minister, if you like become a governor, you will have failed in your essence as a woman if you do not meet up with these mandates, with these equities that you bring into the marriage. But what are the man's typical expectations? He wants to be respected and admired, but he has forgotten that he must act in a manner that is respectful and is worthy of admiration. He wants a peaceful and ordered home, but if you don't communicate what you want, how do you expect it to go? For some people, their food is not very important. For some people, they have OCD. Cleanliness of the home is important to them. For some people, it's bedroom activities. For another person, so you must understand what your spouse needs above what your expectations in your head is. Now, some people want loyalty without conditions. She must be loyal to me. She must tell me where she. Are you loyal to your wife? Does she know where you are? The way you've been asking those solo questions. So lonely quiet is where you are coming to you. Now, they want to be giving the benefit of the doubt always. Give your wife the benefit of the doubt. Your wife, we know it all. Once for people, oh, and they will not let you have this. So do you give your wife the benefit of the doubt as you expect that she should give you the benefit of the doubt, irrespective of how what you do turns out in whatever image you may see it? Think about it. They want appreciation that is expressed that and it is not assumed. But how many times do you want everybody to say thank you to you, thank you for me? Do you come home and say, thank you, my wife, this meal was wonderful? Do you appreciate and say, this effort you made, you look, there is no damsel like you out there. And guess what? Women, that's all we want to hear. A woman doesn't go to the salon and they will pull her hair in all directions, stretching, curling, then weaving for 5 hours. And then wear the jab on top. It's for the husband. So you should learn to appreciate your wife. And that singular appreciation can go a long way to buy you peace, 1 week of peace. Then yeah, 1 week. Next week you find something else to appreciate. And what's her typical expectations? She wants emotional attentiveness and presence all the time. You day, are you a baby? And you don't know that this man is a hardworking man. He has gone, he's that failed businesses out there. And he's thinking about when you come and say market money, he wants to be sure it's okay, and you are looking for come and talk to you and be doing sweethearts and sugar pie. No time for that, right? She wants to be seen, she wants to be heard, she wants to be understood. Better she communicated what it is that she wants. She wants partnership in decisions, not just, don't allow me to take decisions, don't just impose your decisions upon me, right? She wants you to carry her along, carry me along. Let us decide. So that when you tell her that you want to take a second wife, you decide jointly. That is not a good idea. Okay, so they want protection, physical and emotional. And of course, they want to express love, not just imply. Don't just assume that I know that you love me. The one you told me before marriage has expired. You need to renew it. You need to renew it. I told you it's 1 week, but I forgot it. So tell me again. Every Monday morning, I love you, my darling. Every Sunday evening, I love you, my darling. You need to renew it. Yes, we used to forget. It's not our yes. And there's beauty in saying. I tell people that, you see, when the gene tells us to lower our gaze, it's really just for the men. Naked men can pass here. And this is that will just look away. They don't even care. I'm telling you. But let the woman not be naked, but let this own that thing. Let two women in brown pass here now. You go, wow, wow, wow. And that is because for the men, your senses of attraction are linked to your eyes. They are linked to your eyes. Yes. For women, it's linked to our ears, they're olfactory. And that is why you can see that one security man, one driver will be telling one lady now, madam, you look beautiful. Madam, you look awesome. Madam, you are a dancer. Before you know, in the next 2 years, they are married. All because of sweet words. Has nothing to do with common sense. So women, attraction, their sense of emotions are tied to their hearing. It's a balance thing. For men, it's to their eyes. For men, if you can control your eyes and what you see, they are nearly always protected. For women, if they can control what they hear, this is protected. Okay, so we move. Now, the danger of unspoken expectations. And this is part of what we've been talking about. When you have an expectation, it's like, your expectation becomes your imagination. From an imagination, it becomes a dream. From a dream, it becomes a vision. If you don't communicate it to your spouse, I've always dreamt that I wanted to buy a Lamborghini. I've told myself that if I get to age 45, I must own a house, a 3-bedroom duplex, a 5-bedroom duplex in Lekki. Communicate it to your spouse so that there's alignment in your goal. Because if that doesn't happen, what it means is that you will forever feel like a failure if you don't get to build that 3-bedroom duplex in Lekki. You forever feel like a failure if you don't have a foot of your own home. Because in your sense of imagination, understanding, your sense of success is that even if nothing happens, it shall be more. If your husband doesn't understand that, it doesn't become a priority in your home. And if you don't have a child, you forever feel like a failure, you forever feel dissatisfied. There is nothing your husband wants to do that will create a sense of satisfaction. There is nothing this man wants to feel. There is no amount of love. If you like tell him I love you 1,000,000 times, if he doesn't buy that Lamborghini, if he doesn't build that house in Lekki or own a house in Banana Island, he will not do it. But what's the essence of communicating this? Because our spouses are supposed to help us achieve our dreams so that we can understand the decisions that we take. Because all of those expectations, all of those visions that become dreams, that become visions, they are tied to the decisions that we take. So your wife doesn't understand why you're having secret account. Secret account for what? I say we want to go to Paris summer. You say you are having secret account. Savings for what? But if you don't tell her exactly what that savings is for, she will not give. And let Allah now catch you that you didn't even tell that you now discover it yourself. Go to the police and see, become a detective. Why does he have an account that I don't know of? And there is 12 million naira in it. And we're looking for ordinary 100K to go to market. So you must learn. I'm not saying that. You see, there is disclosure, and you must reserve some parts of yourself as a person. You must also understand your spouse must reserve a part of yourself. But there is where your life needs. There are things that you know. In fact, when your spouse becomes your friend, there is nothing you want to hide because they're the ones that get on. If you're lucky and you'll be able to cultivate that kind of relationship with your parents, they become your besties. Some of them, the besties we find in our friends. Some of them, we find those besties in total strangers that we eventually meet in life. And then, if you're very lucky, find that bestie. And that's, not everybody gets to have it, right? But if you can find it, I think your work is already 80%. The next thing I'd like to talk about is social media and the illusion of marriage. And this is destroying a lot of homes. And I've counseled some marriages in recent past, but I just realized that we're measuring the successes, the achievements, or the, let's say, the perfection of their homes against social media stands. Some people even go all the way to go and rent homes just to skits. You go to hotels, you go to apartments, they rent apartments just to shoot skits, and then they post it on social media. And then you take it and think that is the perfect life, fighting your spouse why this is not happening. So whenever somebody does perfect proposal, what is the perfect proposal? There must be line with roses, there must be champagne on the table, chocolate. You must have secretly told all my friends that you're coming to propose. So there's a lot of surprise. It's bam, 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 and the perfect proposal. And then that's where it starts and ends. Did I tell you what happened after that? So now, brother Abdullah, that is trying his own self. Doesn't even, he doesn't know what you are talking about. What is flowers? Flowers are in growing, he doesn't. And he's going to spend how much on it? 20,000? No. It doesn't make sense. We convert that 20,000 to something else, he knows what it is, right? So the fact that he doesn't go on his one knee to ask you, is that a problem? Just so that asking you by no ring. No. Because why? Social media has helped you to create what a perfect proposal should look like, and you are now judging yourself against that. Perfect honeymoon. After that, we went to honeymoon in Dubai. We went to honeymoon. This is what we did. That's what we did. It has destroyed a lot of things because from the foundation of it. And this is why you must always observe your spouse. The amount of time they spend on social media, advise them against it. If they are not using it for business, advise them against it. Because the chances are that they will definitely be exposed to vices, directly or indirectly, that will creep into your homes and affect those people. So if any of your spouse is totally reliant on social media, they want to swipe, they want to flex, they want to like, please, even if they are your friends, advise them against it. Except they are earning a business from it, you don't have any business spending that much time on social media. Perfect anniversaries and birthdays with perfect captions. Oh, he's the this of my life. And not because your husband has not told you how you are the only rose in his garden, or the only bee in the garden, or the only money produced, you begin to feel like your relationship is incomplete. You feel like your relationship is imperfect, or there's something left to give. This should not be it. Or perfect families on perfect money. There is nothing like that. There is nothing like perfect. It is you that will tell yourself, this is perfect for me. Okay? There is nothing like that. So what are we comparing? Usually we're comparing our behind the scenes, somebody's social media room, highlight reels. It can never measure up. Not. So it's like now, I just see these beautiful sisters looking like this. I'll just imagine that every day we're looking like this, so wear the same monotonous color. And they take a lot of money to go and buy it to match dress and right. Don't mind this. Not the kind of brothers that can afford. Okay, so no marriage looks like what you see on Instagram. No relationship looks like what you see on TikTok. Brother TikTok, right? Yeah. Doesn't look that way. They're just for entertainment. Please take them for what? Entertainment purposes only. Take them for entertainment purposes only. I don't want you to be healthy. In fact, I don't even watch perfect marriage. I was telling my friend the other day, that is your husband. I said, please, we are fighting. She said, you people to go fight. You always fight. Yeah, I will not consider it as fight. I don't we don't consider it fight. It's fight. We are fighting. But just like people's fight is not serious fight. And then the next thing I shake there. Oh yes, okay. My husband is around. Sorry, we cannot talk like that. I think you say you're fighting. I think mind your business. Fight is over. You know. So there's nothing like a perfect marriage or creating perfect style when you come out just because you are doing PDAs, public displays of affections and emotions. Doesn't mean that it's perfect. In fact, like I said, you fight with your parents, you fight with your siblings, you fight with everybody that you love. Conflict is a giving. It's a giving. You find a relationship where there's been never anything to fight about. You should question that relationship. So one of the two is being insincere. That means there's something else they're after. In a sincere relationship, whatever it is, even you and your friend, you fight one day, you do something, and you say, let's disagree. We go on. So healthy conflict builds on deeper understanding. After every time you fight, you're able to disagree about. You can only become better because you understand who that person is, why the person acted the way that he acted. That way, you like I said, you become many things. So you become a psychologist and a psychiatrist. You start wondering if this happened because the person had some kind of childhood trauma, or if this happened because the person's previous girlfriends gave them breakfast. Like you can imagine, they are dating one brother, or you're married to one sister, and then you know that brother he has had 6 breakfasts from hijab wearing sisters, and Allah put his destiny that he was married hijab wearing sister. Any hijab wearing sister that is coming near him, it's a no now. Do you understand? So, what conflict does? It's a good conflict at the end of the day, have a understanding. 2, there is renewed trust. Because what does it mean? It helps you understand that this person wasn't after angering you. This person wasn't after upsetting you. This person wasn't after disrespecting you or whatever negative thing that you felt. But the person just acted in their own capacity. And most times, because when we act, it's not, yes, you didn't consider me. The consideration of somebody else. Like I said, no man is alive. So for everything that you do, when anybody comes in here, you breathe 1% of the oxygen. And that's some of the oxygen that are actually breathed. We have taken from the carbon dioxide. So we have shared this space of air has been mixed and we have shared it. Not to talk of the spouse. There was something that happened during COVID, and there was a lockdown. My friend went from being a corporate lawyer to a marital lawyer. Because at the end of that 3 months of lockdown, he had 8% of cases who wanted to apply for divorce. You know why? Especially if you live in Lagos, what happens is after marriage, when you're still in the WWE stage and they still butterflies your stomach, you're not finished knowing the person. That's when you're supposed to know the real person. But at 5 a.m. every day, you're out of the house. You're not back until 7, 8, 9 p.m. You're lucky. If not, you're back like 10 p.m. when the meeting in rise on to see. So all of that is lost. The time for actual bonding and understanding one another is lost. So during COVID, people were forced to live together, like couples were forced to live together in the same space by force by fire. And at the end, they realize, I don't like this person. So you mean it's what you are. This is how it not for work, you just be lazing about. Eh? This is how you just be drag putting and be waking up at 10 a.m. and be expecting it to. So there was so much, and they came up with beautiful things, irreconcilable difference, irreversible, blah, 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 and whatever. And a lot of people were going into divorce situations. Another thing that a healthy conflict can do for you, you now have stronger intimacy. Intimacy because there is now, there's a stronger understanding. You see, of course, if you have been married, depending on how long or how short, and you're a very observant person, your wife is a lot more attracted to you after you have successfully concluded an episode of and you have gotten it right. It's not just to have conflict and succeed at it, but that you have gotten, how do you get it right? Everybody feels, a win-win after that conflict. I don't feel like I was cheated. I don't feel that this was a first peacemaking and let's all just go on. No. But that there was a genuine, I'm sorry, I felt, the apology is there, it's real. Got my pay, you know where I'm coming from. You can only feel more love than and vice versa. Every time she just wants to be right. She just wants me to say sorry. We are sorry. No. That one. The fight, the part 2 of that fight will be doing pressure. Until the day you do something totally unrelated, like that conflict will raise ugly head up. And of course, finally there will be greater compassion. Because when somebody really forgives you, when you know in your heart of hearts, we don't need to tell you. Men are always doing it wrong. I don't know why these brothers are always wrong and we the women were always right. Mm-hmm. See the sisters shaking their head. Indeed. Look at the mirror and be honest. Okay. So, but the thing is this, there's greater compassion. Because even when you know in your heart of heart you are wrong, and yet the brother came to say sorry to you, you're like, he's a good man. He's a good man. And he knew, but yes, he still gave me the honor and he apologized to me. But when you see unhealthy conflict, first and foremost, there's an emotional distance. Even when you are sleeping on the same bed, you feel like you are Sokoto from Lagos. Right? Secondly, there's a deep resentment, and that deep resentment you keep on building. They say it was pent up emotions. It was accumulated anger. Why all this stuff was unresolved. Something didn't feel right. You just say, let's sweep it under the carpet. That rug you are sweeping under, one day to become sand. All those dust will die and it will become sand. Okay, then there's permanent bitterness. Because we will always see when you are wearing a cloak or a shade or a lens of disagreement, every other thing will be colored. You'll be seeing red. Nothing, that person can't do anything good. Again, lie. Even if the person breathes, you say the air is smelling. Because something else is unresolved. There is some pain somewhere. You can't see anything right as a person. Then of course there will be contempt. You mean as you are now, I should be calling you Lulu. You cannot even come and seek for peace. You can't call us to resolve this problem. So there will be contempt. Finally, there will be disconnection. You're going to lose your connection for one another. And this is why it's very important that we always remind ourselves of Surah 2, verse 21. And that says, and of his signs is that he created from you yourselves mates, and that you may find what? Tranquility, sakina. And in them he has placed between you affection and mercy. You see that word? And I was listening to the Sheikh when he said, Allah would have said, he would have put place between you, Muhabba and Rahma. Muhabba, in this is what you call ordinary love, agape love. I love you, love me. But that's not sufficient. Here, Allah used the word mawada, which is a greater degree of love. That's an affection. The kind of love that you have for your recalcitrant son or daughter or sibling. Allah places that great deep affection between you. So that even when you commit a wrong, we caught him cheating, we know he has cheated. Still, and you'll be like, you know, nothing happened. One brother is smiling. We don't want to call his name, right? And then even when your husband sees that you have done this, you have disrespected your in-laws and all of that, you have done this, you didn't cook and then he will still what forgive you and the love is like renewed. So yes, not renewed hope. So after that mawada, that's affection, that cannot work without what? Rahma, mercy. You must learn to be merciful to one another. Marriage is not what you did me today, I will do you tomorrow. I want to revenge. Yes, it's not that kind of battlefield, it's not that serious. You know, we must transition from that point of anger to a mature understanding that conflict is a giving. That you have a misunderstanding doesn't mean that you are incompatible. I don't even know that word. How you want to find that kind of compatibility. They're not a jigsaw puzzle now. So what you do is that today you mold yourself like this to accommodate her. Tomorrow she molds herself like this to accommodate you. They're not a fixed jigsaw puzzle that must always find how to fit. They're not casting stones. So there is a transition that goes from romance to reality in every marriage. And when you know them and you understand them, it helps you. So the first is the idealization stage. I met this babe today. Baby, oh, she's fine, she's beautiful, she's this. And on top of that, she knows the dean. Hey, you need to hear where she was reciting. And then you're excited. There's butterflies in your stomach. There's a veil over your eyes at that point in time. You cannot see anything. Same to the men. Babe, you cannot see anything. Even if the whole world are telling you that lady, she's dangerous. I cannot see the danger. She's an angel to me. In fact, you don't want to hear it. Anybody, what did you say? You said my wife is what? Start fighting. Know that you have entered one chance. But that's the idealization place where everything looks perfect. Ideas. You know, you have created an ideal person in your head, and that person fits those boxes. In some marriages, this stage lasts between 1 to 3 years. Some marriages 3 to 5 years. And depending on how valuable your wife can be, if she does just keep closing her eyes to all your plenty thoughts, it can last up to 5 to 10 years. Then comes the discovery phase. But most often than not, this discovery comes between 3 to 5 years in marriage. In fact, the first 2 years, that veil now comes off like this. Start seeing the person's three colors. You now start saying, so she didn't have a flat tummy. She was wearing what do you call it? Tummy talk. She was wearing tummy talk. She was not breathing all this while. She was not a flat tummy. Hey, but it was one chance, And then you now say, hey, wait a minute. That's why that brother is always wearing cap. And he was bald underneath. So, you start finding. No, you're embracing your own with your full chest. It's good. Yes. So, you start discovering the nitty-gritty intricacies of one another. And it might not be a beautiful sight. However, this is not a red flag. What it means is that for the person to now really show you who they are, they're also becoming quite comfortable. Where you don't have to walk around eggshells around each other and say, oh, my husband is coming, I must look fine, let me go and do my makeup. No, they're comfortable with him, seeing you. You're comfortable with her, knowing that in the morning you just want to wear shorts and no cigarettes and just lounge and watch football, So, in that discovery phase, sometimes people tend to see it as a conflict. They say, oh, you were deceiving me. So all this while, this wig you were wearing. So all this while is this. So all this while is that. So this is not what you told me. You deceived me. But don't mistake this failure. It is not a break. It's that person has comfortable enough with you to show you their true self. Then the adjustment begins. Now say, what is that, Kadara? Let us accept it that way. So you start adjusting. you start measuring. You start learning how to be patient. You start learning how to be tolerant. You start learning things. You start learning to adjust into, that transition where you move from the me to the we phase. From and then questions and answers. So if you have questions and answers, we'll still get to that very shortly. So I'll just repeat a bit for where we were, talking to those who are not yet married and the outlook they should have, like in searching for their spouses. So you should not ask the questions at this point in time, saying, who should I marry? Question you should entertain now is, who do I have to become before marriage? I said, you must learn to be a husband now before you become a husband. So whoever you are living with, wherever you are living, you should learn to be responsible for yourself. You should learn to be able to take responsibility for others, because very soon you're going to be taking the responsibility of an entire human being, who is going to be your wife, and of course your home. So you also migrate from the question saying, is this person good enough for me? Have you ever asked yourself, am I good enough for this person? Which is why I say whenever you have a checklist, it's okay to have a checklist, so long as you have a matching checklist for yourself against that checklist. So if you are looking for a God-fearing man, have you become a God-fearing woman? If you are looking for a brother that fasts Mondays and Thursdays, it's okay. Have you started fasting Mondays and Thursdays? If you are looking for a brother that has memorized the Quran, beautiful. Have you finished memorizing the Quran? If you are looking for a brother that has house in Banana Island, have you afforded house in Banana Island? Okay, so so you should always ask yourself that reflective question, so that you're not imposing a standard upon someone and making them feel less than what they are actually worth, just because you have an imagination in your head. Now, finally, stop asking, will this person come and complete me? What is the person, the building block? No, complete yourself. The responsibility is on you. And when you have finished completing yourself, now ask, what can we build together? What can we build together? Don't be looking for who come and complete you. That one is that. Why are you half? Why are you incomplete? Why? So complete yourself and come into the marriage fully and complete. Now, like I said, you don't need anyone to diagnose you. If you have mental health issues, go and find help. Before you marry a man, now transfer your trauma onto him. If you know you have mental health, please find help before you marry a woman or women and transfer your mental issues upon them. Okay, so marriage amplifies who you already are, like I keep saying, and then you have to become the kind of person that you want to marry. So ask yourself, if I'm a man, will I marry myself? Oh, you're lucky. You're lucky. So ask yourself, will I marry myself? Now it's full of all confidence. Yes, I will. Let your wife come and answer that question for you. Okay, so and for those of us who are already married, right? The questions should be, have I become a better Muslim, a better person, through this marriage? Has the marriage made me a better person? You should also ask, has my spouse become a better person because of my presence in their lives? Have I been able to take his 10 naira and help him to multiply it into 100 naira? Instead of sitting down, doing nothing and assuming that he'll bring 1 million from the bank accounts. Yes. So as yourself become a better person because of your presence in their lives. And it doesn't have to be money. Maybe they didn't speak good English, tell them. They are now the ones that will help them. Maybe they did not used to use body, care, cosmetics. They don't know how to use roll-on and, perfumes and what have you. Have they become better since you entered the house? Do they now know what the hand moisturizing cream is? Do they know what sunscreen is? If I did, So that is what they need you in their life Teach them. Do they know that they have to iron every clothes that they wear? Do they know they have to wear a vest in their shirt? Make a man out of him, but also be ready for him to make out of him. Okay. So ask yourself also, am I contributing peace or pressure to this home? Are you always the fault finder? Is it only you that is always offended? Are you contributing to the peace or to the pressure? And finally, are you a source of growth or are you a source of stagnation in the relationship? How do you become stagnation? You want your voice to be the last. You want your voice to be the loudest. What does your spouse do? Just withdraw. I say, but today she has come again with our land. For peace, let her just carry our land. Go. Let him just carry his wahala and go. So you must ask yourself all these questions. I'm not saying you should answer them to me. I'm not saying you should even answer to your spouse. These are questions that are reflective enough for us. They are not accusatory questions. They are informative. So that when we answer these questions, we also know you don't need anybody to tell you. So you know when you are the problem. Yeah. And we know those who know that there are problems, right? But they don't want to admit it. Please admit it. When you admit it, find a way. So and then most importantly, ask yourself, what kind of marriage are you trying to build? Don't forget, if you're looking for the kind of marriage where you are living in Agege and you want to start living in Banana Island, it means that you must be doing a job that can match that brother's income to be able to build a house or own a house in Banana Island. But you cannot sit down, my sister, in your government job of 120,000 salary. They're expecting that this poor man will become bald-headed because he wants to get you a house in Lekki. Or he will grow all white beard simply because he wants to satisfy you, build a house in Lagos and build a house in your hometown. So ask yourself, what kind of marriage are you trying to build? See one where we are contented. Most importantly, we want to grow in the deal. We understand that this marriage in itself is an amana of God. And so we are both working hard at it to make it work. And I'm not saying it's easy. There are days that I forget. And I'm like, somebody pinch me. Why did I marry Sheikh? Anybody, if you like, go and quote. And then, and then I'm like, oh, the next day I'm like, oh yeah, that's something that thank you for such a wonderful husband. But it does happen. There are days that you forget, and it's okay. So, but then, if you answer these questions, it helps you to become a reflective spouse. So that in the midst and the heat of when different things are happening, you understand the direction in which you are going. Are you going to Lagos or are you going to school? And if you're in Lagos, are you heading to Oba's Palace or you're heading to? So you must answer these questions so that in the heat of the moment, it helps to stabilize you. It serves as your anchor. It serves as your anchor. So I think my final message before I start taking questions is that the purpose of marriage, is not merely to find someone to live with. A lot of us, we are tired of our parents' homes. We are tired of being single. We just want a legal license to have sex. So you just get married. You don't care that the other person came in with a purpose. So the essence is not just finding somebody to live with, but becoming someone who is worth living with. So different circumstances can lead to your marriage. It might be for the right reasons, it might be for the wrong reasons. But when you are in it, what now happens? I studied medicine, but I found myself working in First Bank. I studied psychology, I found myself working in GT Bank. I studied arts, I found myself working in Ministry of Finance. So now that you find yourself there, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to take a second course? Are you going to take a professional? Are you going to change career altogether? What are you going to do with it? The decision is yours. And I just married her. Because MICA match made us. And okay, so MICA has now match made you. You have now enjoyed. So now what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do? And this is why communication is very essential. communication is very essential. I feel, oh, that just dealt me in hand and I just did this. Wouldn't have been, you're not my first choice. So if not that Rukaya gave me heartbreak, I will not be here married to Amina. But now that you're married to Amina, what are you doing with it? So the purpose of our companionship is not to find perfection, but to find growth. Because our essence is to keep on aspiring to be better than we were, to be better. So the competition is not against Lagbaja and Lagbaja, it's not against Timi and Mohammed, it's not against Abdulgani and Abdullah, it's not against Rukaya and Aisha, it's not against Idaya and Safar, it is against you who you were yesterday and who you're going to be tomorrow. It is who you were yesterday against who you're going to be tomorrow. So the essence is to grow from that person. So when you look back, you can ask yourself, and you can see how long you have tarried, how far you have come. You can tell yourself that, previously, I was an impatient person. Any small thing, I've started reading, but now I'm calm. Marriage has humbled me, has taught me something. I'm not always right all the time, So it is about growth. And then the purpose of love is not possession. That thing that you've been doing, you want to possess a human being. You cannot own a human being. It doesn't belong to you. She doesn't belong to you. He's an manner upon you as you are a manner upon him. And if you can both respect that, then inshallah you find true transformation that will take you to the growth that you want to be. Finally, I pray that Allah places tranquility in our homes, wisdom in our conversations, mercy in our hearts, and barakah in our relationships, and to help us to become spouses who bring one another closer to God. Now, I'm ready for your questions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. You are not answering me, right? Please take place for our sister. It has no resounding. I know it's rained in the morning. And it's part of Barakah of Allah. Well, we promised 2 weeks ago that we are going to have this. All right. We announced last 2 weeks when we had the very first part of this that we are going to have today, and as Allah will have it. I dreamed in the morning and I felt, the rain will come, but around the ride, it's so beautiful, and we have the full house. That's one of the blessing Allah has bestowed on us. On that note, we had from our sister very, very compelling discussion, and I believe we are taking a lot of writings. But this best part I like, whenever MICA has events, this kind of gathering, your feedback, your reactions, your comments, your observations, and I know even our guys here, Dr. Samus who came, because I know it's not. I know you know it very well. That's why you do that. So, the OGs are here too, and it's time for us to get feedback from all of you. May Allah continue to really reflect the knowledge of our sister here. She has done. If I'm not here today, I'm going to blame myself that I didn't attend it, because about all the things that I know. She said something about I must always say about that you love her. I was like, is it and it's true. My own wife used to, the day I said, I love you, she called back that, and I think some of the things that we always feel that we know, honestly, we don't know, but with this, we have a good thing. So let's do it this way. From this side, we take from our sisters too, but it's good to always, if you cannot say your question, you can write it down. Our sister is here for you to take all your questions. Number one. Number two. You are married, sir. You still want to ask question? I just saying. Number two. 1, 2. The brothers no answer. Okay. Maybe they are still putting. Sisters. Okay, I think much more later will take.
I want to thank my sister. I think this is a very fantastic presentation. But maybe it's not really a question, it's an observation. You've given us mostly a parallel to what husband, this point, like this point, children. We are Muslims. This straight line extends to be triangular, hexagonal, and pentagon. So I want to ask, this is very fantastic. How does it change? How does it apply when that parallel becomes triangular? Extend to pentagon. How do they apply? Thank you.
Yes, but let me take this fraud and then so yes, I did listen to your question. And then this is one of the things that I love since this, came and questioned. Now I'm just talking about a linear straight line. One husband, one wife. Okay. What of one husband, 2 wives, 3 wives? Don't worry. I'm in a polygamy situation. So, but guess what? Why are you shouting and killing? But guess what? You see, relationships are individualistic. Because in my family, I have 6 brothers. I'm not brother to only my twin. I'm not a sister to only my twin. I'm a sister to every brother. And I have a relationship with each of my brothers. So you're going to have a relationship with each of them. Funny enough, we might be Mr. Hardman to Rukaya because Rukaya is a spoiled brat. You might be Mr. Romantic to Aziza because Aziza loves Indian love. You might be Mr. To number 3, Mr. Adam to number 4. But understand this, it is always a straight line between you and that person, and you and the other wife. It is not a zigzag kind of situation. No. The relationship you have with the first wife is totally independent. The relationship you have with the second wife. If you go and merge matters together, and this starts from the primary intention, even picking a spouse from taking a second wife. Are you trying to use the second wife to solve the problems you think you have in your first marriage? If that is what you think you're doing, you're only getting to a bigger problem because the second wife is coming with her own issues. Third wife will come with her own issues. There is nothing like perfect wife. There is nothing like perfect husband. So it is the way you toasted Aisha is different from the way you toasted Amina. It's different from the way you toast Fatima. It's different from how your relationship with Zainab. Everyone with their own. So that is why you must first understand who you are as a man. If you don't understand yourself, you can be repeating the same mistakes across different lives. And that will become problems. Because that expectation of, you remember Salma that broke your heart the first time. So you are now wanting to find that relationship and you now carry Salma's image and come and impose on Aisha, it fails. You now marry Fatima, impose it on Fatima, it will fail. You try to impose it on Zainab, it will fail. At some point in time, when you start thinking of yourself, you start feeling like a failure. You start feeling like the problem is with you. But it's because you haven't identified what the problem is. So every relationship, in as much as we felt like I was talking about another relationship anymore, I was talking relationship in a linear and I want to tell my brothers the same information, but because they are different, I know what to say to Abdulaziz, I know what to say to Jones, I know what to say to have different ways, I will tell them the same thing, depending on what I want to achieve. And that's how it's going to be when we're dealing with it.
I've given us a model of mind and leadership mind of each of them. What of happens? But if they think something, happen. The ownership. You put the man for this man.
Absolutely.
I come here. Yes. Now, those what are the women see? Stress comes from
the man is the fault. Please just move on. The man is the fault. Like I said, you do not know where to draw the lines. you will always have issues. And that's why I use siblings now. You will also have it with your children. Okay? The relationship you're going to have with your first child is different from the relationship you have with the second child, is different from the relationship you have with the third child. They are individuals. Forget it, aware. Whatever training you think you are giving them, when they are going to school, when they are leaving home, when they are going to their spouse's home, the advices you give them is different. When your wives come under your wings, they don't change their character simply because they are coming as a second wife or third wife or fourth wife. They are coming as individuals. The same way the first wife wants to be shown that she is loved. Second wife wants to be loved. Third wife wants to be loved. It doesn't matter. Like you have done it before, and you repeat it and repeat it and replicate it, like cloning in DNA. Do you understand? So it is not like it is you that understands that this is a pentagonal thing. Me, it is a linear thing. For her, it's a linear thing. For the third wife, it's a linear thing. For the fourth wife, it's a linear matter. It's not a joint marriage. No. When you came to toast me, you didn't come with a you didn't come with it. And then you see, sometimes that connection you're talking about, you might not be multiple wives. You have your family, she has hers. It might be an in-law relationship. She has to contend with your friends. Those annoying ones that like to come and watch football and be shouting and they'll be asking for pounded jam and afterwards. You don't want that. So she has to contend with that. She has to contend with the in-laws. Feel like, oh, we still have a say in our brother's life. So even without polygamy, marriage on its own can be. You're already wearing multiple hats as a son, as an uncle, as a brother, as a father, as a this, as a that. She's also wearing multiple hats, mind you. So that's why I say it has to be a linear thing. Because the mistake you want to make is say, oh, you don't have to bring everybody together. And you should not in any case. You're trying to really manage your affairs. Just keep on maintaining it and say, oh, no, let us have one. I'm sure you have siblings. You don't have the same relationship of bandwidth forth with them. Do you understand? As you can wake up and call at 10 a.m. at 3 a.m. You dare not wake up and call and brother Femi at 4 a.m. like that. Do you understand? So with your wives too, it is the same thing. Let's give to Caesar what it is to Caesar. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, I follow. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. My sister, let me change the game. Don't like others have done. I struggle to make sure I'm very, very happy. So when you started your preamble talking about Yusuf, I never asked you other things like that. Yes, you did well there. But I just want you to help me encourage my sister. Because most of them have Christian friends who will tell you, I go man and one man, one wife. It's not biblical. Listen, I'm telling you, I used to be a small boy in the Christian law. Oh, and then with Ibrahim Joe. The Bible says if a man have more than one wife, Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 15 to 17, how you share the property. If a man have more than one wife. So please try and tell your sisters they shouldn't be taking the ideas of the Christians. Because even when I was in Italy, Europeans that were members of my church who have one wife, they have meals outside. Very many. But the worst time you go to Europe is the time of Valentine. I was a Catholic priest. I know what I passed through. I'm very happy today. I'm married, I have a wife, and I have children. Maybe I'll take it alone so that I can look like Abraham or David. So all those people will not go to hell. At all. They are the first people that will enter heaven. So why do we need to tell you that Jesus of Nazareth, or in the Bible, he was keeping two women now. Yes, one in the house of Lazarus, and that one in the house of Peter. One poured with him on his head, and that one poured with him on his leg, and used her head to wipe Jesus' leg. The disciples were angry, saying, "No, no, she's doing to what nobody wants." Let's do that. But I want to appreciate you so much. My sister, try and pass this message among sisters, because they are all afraid. One man, one wife have. The Bible said a time is coming when 17 women will bring to one man. Yeah, right? Some say 7,000. But Amplified says 7,000. Good news says 70. So try and encourage my sisters and my brothers too. Yeah, wake up!
Brothers, wake
Invite me to come and eat. Don't invite me for burial. Invite me for shopping. My dear beloved twins, we are all beautiful. Try and encourage because there are lots of. If we have 1.5 wives or we have 2 wives, we are going to reduce prostitution in the society. I tell you this. This is the truth. This is the truth. So please try your possible best. If you want to ask a question about marriage, there's no marriage in the Bible. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
There's no marriage in the Bible. No way marriage is conducted. In the Bible, in Oba, I canceled 3 marriages. Until they went and put on the rule or this term of king and whatever the rest. As okay before I conducted the marriage. It's not biblical. There are 2 marriages in the Bible. One, the marriage of Isaac. And Isaac married his wife when the wife was 3 years old. The other one was when the Lord turned water into wine. How was it conducted? There's no marriage. Everything in the Bible is staged, managed. So be careful. Don't say, hey, one man, one wife. Who said so? Who said so? The Bible didn't explain that. When you take a woman, take her as your own. Then exchange it to one man, one wife. It's a pity. Please, I beg all of you here. Go and encourage people to marry more than one wife. Starting from my class. Rashid. We are going to follow you. But Doctor, Allah continue to bless everyone of you here. I'm very happy. This can also make sense. Marriage in Islam. When you give it to us from the street, we pass it to our friends in the market. They should not be giving us tracts and I don't answer. Give it to them. They will say, this is what Islam says. We are the only religion that have marriage. So let's thank Allah for doing so.
The brothers who came from number 3. So you want to respond to that? Okay, right.
Alpha Ibrahim, I'm almost tempted to be worried and to connect the dots that perhaps polygamy brought you to Islam, where you have the license to have 2, 3 wives. I'm just teasing you. So yes, I have totally understood what you said, in as much as a lot of sisters are skeptical about it because polygamy as is widely called, but its actually correct term is polygyny, and it is because there have been too many terrible stories about it that have been out there, and people have not managed the affairs properly, and so many people look at polygyny today as a terrible thing. But guess what? When you now fight your husband and they are cheating on me, you want to carry another wife, I will leave your home. When you leave his home, are you going to marry another single man? You end up second wife somewhere else. So yes, but then again, this comes back to the communication, right? A lot of men in that idealization space where there are butterflies in your stomach, you keep making crazy promises to sisters. And I told you they are hearing and they are keeping records. And you are told that you are the only butterfly in my garden, you are the only rose on my. Yes. And tomorrow you go and bring another rose flower. Tell me why she will not fight you. So the problem is this: stop making. You see, like I said, it's only today we know. Nobody knows tomorrow. Don't make promises that is not within your capacity to keep. And like I told you, the sisters, our ears are very sharp, and that's where our memory stays. She will remind you that promise you made 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago when you want to take a second wife tomorrow. And she will say, you have done what? You have lied to me. Then she will make problems. For the sisters, yes, we hear this. And I tell people, you cannot be a bouquet Muslim. You cannot be a banquet Muslim where you select some things on the banquet menu and drop some. Just be sincere to yourself. You are the first wife, mashallah. You turn out to be second, mashallah. Allah has already permitted. And that's why I said something earlier on. You cannot own another person. You cannot own the man. You cannot own him. It doesn't belong to you. You say, my husband. Somebody else's husband tomorrow. And the sooner you start warming up to the idea, the better for you. And let me tell you something in any case, as someone who is encouraging you, there is nothing that Allah prescribes that has no goodness in it. There is nothing, I repeat, that Allah ordains, Allah prescribes that there is no goodness in it. I remember when I first got married, and my co-wife wanted to go for my grandmother's birthday. And she was able to go and she spent like, a week plus. And then she came and told me and said, since I married, I've never been able to enjoy this where I can travel for this one. But why is that? There was no backup plan. Now there's backup plan. She doesn't have to worry that she's rushing back home and she can only do 2 days because her husband doesn't have somebody to care for him. So there are some perks that you enjoy. There are perks that you get to enjoy. And then if you are like me, you want to be independent woman, sometimes you just want your me times, right? To have that and enjoy it. So you enjoy the days when the husband is not there and you don't have to eat okay, so you can eat your eat and your shawarma and water and you. And then the day is there again, you turn back to your suit. So like I'm saying, there are perks that you can enjoy. Don't be boxed into the Western idea of monogamy in marriage, and that's where you need to go. In fact, research shows that the white men, the Europeans, introduced this concept of monogamy, one man, one wife, to control populations. After they were able to brainwash the world into one man, one wife, the next thing they did was what? Family planning. Don't give birth to more than 4. You must give us, space them like this. Children are miracle from Allah. Children are miracle from Allah. So sometimes, I don't want to go out of this topic, but read a lot. Don't just subject yourself to what the world is peddling and see the goodness in what Allah has. So,
bottom line, our sister, the more the merrier. There you go. One house, sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we have online question as well.
All right. So because you were here late, I don't know if you listened to when I was talking about the story of Prophet Musa, were you here? It's because I gave a part of that response to your question. So the first thing is you identify the qualities, right? But like I said, there is something about kindred spirits, recognizing kindred spirits. If you are a God-fearing man, you recognize the God-fearingness in another one. It's an intuition. It's not written on the forehead. We don't go about it like an imanometer. When anybody tells you that iman is 50%, is 80%. No. But there are certain things that you might see. And it's not about going to go and pray 5 times a day or being a member of MICA and NASFAT and Nazareth every Sunday or something. God-fearingness is different. At that part of the moment when nobody's watching, you're not putting up a show. That you can be considerate of the other person even before yourself. That you put the other person first, that you can be just in your affairs when you're letting out affairs that person. There are lots of things when you talk about God-fearingness, but in relationships and things matter, right? That this person is not cheating because the person knows that love is. So it's not something I can teach you to see or to know. Be a God-fearing person and love and marriage.
Thank you so much, man. The sister's question from you, we are still waiting.
So we have a question from chats. So, but before that, sorry, because I would like to quickly say something about this last question. So, for me, from my own perspective, this is something I've learned over time. So there's a concept of soulmates, But usually, the way people understand soulmates is not exactly correct. So what I have come to understand soulmates from, especially from the Islamic perspective, is that all of us, we all have souls, right? And then before we came down to earth, we're all in a place called Alam al-Arwah, the world of the souls. So we were existing as souls in a place before we came down here. And it is said that the scholars have told us that in that world, we have companions. So those are people who are our soulmates. So they could be of either gender. So when we come down here and we go about our regular lives, when we meet those people who we knew back then in the Alam of Afwa, there's something that sparks. I'm sure we have experienced that. There's sometimes you're meeting someone for the first time and you're like, I've met this person before. So that's usually comes, and also that is where that is also part of that is also where the istikhara helps you. So it's for you to do that istikhara and to trust in what Allah says in the Quran that at-tayyibat lit-tayyibin, at-tayyibin lit-tayyibat. So in the end of the day, it's for you to do your utmost best and leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think that's a little bit I wanted to say about that. So as for the question, it says, Assalamu alaikum, it's a common saying that opposites attract. So when you say, can you marry who you are, what part is correct and what part needs improvement?
Like I said, the Quran, inshallah, is my reference point, and the Quran doesn't tell me that opposite attracts. That is science for you, right? But okay, when I ask you, can you marry yourself? Mind you, there isn't just one version of the person, like I said. There are multiple parts and facets to who we are, as people. And nobody needs to come and tell you this is where you're good, this is where you're bad. You know yourselves, you know your shortcomings, you know your flaws, you know the best part of you, you know the worst part of you. When I ask you if you can marry yourself, it means that you should go back and self-reflect and measure yourself. This is not you putting up a show for anyone. Measure yourself. Are your ills outweighing your values? If so, do you now expect somebody else to accept those ills of you when you're not able to accept it of yourself? So when I talk about, because we always aspire for what is good, we all want what is good all the time. If somebody came and then the first thing they told you is, "Oh, I'm a criminal," you run away. So we always put our best foot forward. And what I'm saying is, before you go ahead pointing fingers and wondering, is this man good enough for me? Ask yourself, are you good enough for the kind of man? Or if you are a man asking this question, are you good enough for the kind of woman that you want? Thank you very much.
I have two more questions. This is a written question. How do you move on to another relationship with the intention to marry? A question mark. You find that you are constantly looking for the qualities of the lost love, and you can't find anyone who has those embodiments of those qualities. So the question is, a broken relationship. How do you? I think you got that question.
So the person asking this question, I would like to take the person out of this question and reflect back. This ideal that you have in your head, what this perfect love indices are in a person, must have come from somewhere. If you were there in the beginning, we talked about it. So you've either seen it in your parents, from neighbors, from a book you have read. Something must have informed this idea of that love that you are looking for. And so whatever has informed it, you need to go and readdress yourself to understand that those people or the person who has that ideal love or that perfection of what you see as an ideal love is not necessarily what applies here. today in your own life. Not even the kind of choices you have made in this house will be sufficient for your kids to make. If it is the other side now that is the result, that means this is not like a childhood thing that you have watched and then you have created in your head. Like I said, all these ideas become your imagination, become your dreams, and then they become your vision. Now, if it is from a lost love, meaning somebody you dated in the past, and you thought this was just wonderful, and the person gave you breakfast, and then you had to walk away, well, it means you didn't have closure. You didn't have a proper communication, you didn't have closure. So you probably still feel that it was something insufficient in you that sent that love away. You see, some of these things are actually psychological, which is why I said to realize that you have a problem before you marry a spouse, and you now, reflect these problems upon that person. Find out, talk to somebody about it. We need to find out it's a pattern. This originated from somewhere, your ideal image of what that love is has originated from somewhere. But if it's originating from kind of the sunnah, then of course we know you can marry for money, you can marry for status, you can marry for wealth. But it's importantly for your character.
One more question before we call it a wrap. This is another question from online. Is it possible to fall out of love in marriage? The threshold of marriage, 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years and more. Chemistry still, that's the question the person is asking.
Oh, wow. Wonderful and interesting question. That's the standard now. You fall out of it. If you fall in love, you will fall out of the love. But if you grow with love, and this is why I tell you lots of people, this whole fall in love before marriage is a broken heart. That is Hollywood for you, and then Bollywood, and Kannywood, and Nollywood, and that's what we tell you. It is when you know the person and when you start living with the person that love comes. Love is not a prerequisite to marriage, as a matter of fact. It is a factor of marriage. It's not something you fall into and now say, oh, I'm in love, but I now want to marry this person. No, that's infatuation. That is you conforming yourself to somebody's imagination of what they tell you love should be. Absolute truth. If you were here when I said it, that sometimes I'm like, you mean I married this man? Somebody please wake me up. And a lot of us have that. And there's nothing absolutely wrong if you get to that point. It is absolutely true. Because when you start to discover one another, you start discovering aspects of yourself that you didn't know existed. In case you missed it, I was telling them, I said, anybody had told me that I'll be eating swallow, Nigerian African food. Like that. I said, no, that's the case. I want to marry an Oyibo-like man. The one that we will eat spaghetti together, spaghetti bolognese, Alfredo sauce, you know what I'm talking about? Shawarma, and we have exactly, see all of them filling up. But the reality is, I married an African man, he loves to swallow. And on my timetable, they swallow every day of the week. So it brings out aspects of you that you did not even know existed. And I was sincere before marriage when I said, no, but they work, but it's working. And it's working very well now. So yes, is there at that point where you feel like you are falling out of love, even because the marriage in itself is not about the romance alone. It's not about romance alone. And that thing you call chemistry. You've seen a chemical reaction before, in case you're a science student. It can reignite and reignited. Even when you finish burning wood, that coal, you take the coal, you now put an ember and fan it. The embers will come up again. So yes, what it means that even when the wood has burnt, those coals can still be reignited to produce fire. That's what I can say. All you need to do is communicate, find out what works, find out what was it, and we shall like use whatever chemistry you together. Something.
Yes, we have another one.
Yes, that one now.
Yes, from
online.
So this person says, how do you satisfy your spouse that you stop hearing words like, what have you done for me? etc. Though you fulfill your obligations as a spouse.
Wahala. You see, when I said you need to be a husband before you become a husband, you need to be a wife before you become a wife. You would learn how to control your words, the things that come out of you, because you know that it affects somebody else. You might be saying it from a point of your own anger. I said something. Don't carry your imagination and impose it on somebody else's reality. It's not going to work. Don't carry your imagination of the perfect husband and impose it on your wife or on an innocent man that is just living his life and say, this is how I want you to be. I need you to be cutting your hair like this. I need you to shave your beard like this. I need you to grow your beard and dye it gold. I don't carry your imagination and impose it on somebody else. Communication. And that communication is very, very important. So when somebody tells you ugly things, that ugliness from within, they say things like, what have you done to me? What have you done for me? After all, I paid your way through school. I did this one for you. I paid for your siblings. I bought house for your father. I did this. What have you done for me? I gave you my time, and my time is invaluable, brother. I gave you my time, and it cannot be taken back. But we're not here to trade issues and matters, right? We're not going to stoop to that level. But I'm saying this because I hear this a lot in lots of marriages that I've come across very recently in counseling. And these things originate from social media, I guarantee you. They peddle all this kind of nonsense, you absorb it, you internalize it, and before you know it, you become a product of that thing. So once there is a problem, you start thinking, after all, I bought a car for her, she didn't buy a car. After all, you did this for her. Who else will you have done it for? Who else? So please, I'm so sorry for the person who sent that question. I'm so sorry that your spouse said that to you. But I think that at this point in time, that spouse of yours needs help. At this point in time, your relationship actually, because for you to come out and ask this question, it comes from a place that you have been deeply hurt by that question. So your relationship will definitely need some interference at this point. Perhaps you need to get a marriage counselor, a mental health specialist, or whoever, a guidance and counselor, or talk to your local imam or sheikh, whatever you are, and may Allah heal your marriage. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, I think with that final question, you can call it a wrap at this point in time. I'd like to say big thank you to all of you. It's been an engaging and very, very awesome moment, becoming, aligning expectation with reality. And we have our sister Ajia, Azizat Muhammad Adangba, that shall be taking about 2 hours and thereabout, and we have to call it a wrap with this question and answer session. But before we go, we'd like to call on one of our brothers, an OG, Dr. Mohammed Salisu, to pray for our guest speaker and the whole MICA as well. Please,
Yeah, we'll be fine. Enjoy.
Well, in the first place, I did that deliberately. I did that deliberately in the first place because I think one of the problems we have is that we take life too seriously. So I tend to kind of dilute things. Then in the second place, I actually hold my sister very highly. Sense that the first thing that strikes me about her is self-assured. What I kept on trying to tell my students in the medical school, that's what I come across. You guys need to listen. So you cannot be yourself. You understand what people you can get that are two ways. Stick with Allah and then seek knowledge. Just naturally acquire that. As Muslims, we've got quite a lot of people who are assets to community, we must keep seeking for them. So that we can focus on them. I just saw one advert here just now about what's his name? This guy in former Latin pastor was one that God called him the president of Nigeria. Yeah, he has one school, and I call the school of governance. It's a program they want to do. So he was invited to the governor of Lagos State. And the funny thing is that when these people do these things, all these governors will do. But when Muslims do anything, the governors are sure. So the problem is really ours. And so this is why I really admire MICA. MICA is always looking how to advance the Muslim cause in a manner that. So having said that, my dear sister, thank you very much. To deepen your knowledge and understanding. May Allah bless you, bless your home, that your husband is always fighting. May Allah make him to not fighting as he used to fight. So the fight only continues. But you see, again, like I said, we really want to love ourselves. May Allah bless you, bless your home, guide you, grant you wisdom, make you part of the community and continue to fight for the community and for all of us to be Allah Okay, it's about to kill all of the countries, and so let us recite no, you always give me your food. Let's do that. Don't worry. When they all finish dying, okay, so for your father-in-law that has died, then what are the auntie that is planning to die? We're all going to die. What's your problem? I lost somebody so close to me 3 weeks ago, and I'm still weeping. So, all of you will come for and then somebody just died. So what I talking about? Àwọn tó bá rà sílé tó lọ sí àtẹ̀dí ní junior brother ní ilé tó ránṣẹ́ láìpẹ́. Let's be realistic. You understand? We're all created to die. We're all born. Right? So leave that. What we need to do, individual level, is let us come to the awareness of who we are and what's going to do, and let us be prepared. And once we are prepared, makes a difference. And then we will have friends, family members, we will weep. Rasul Sallam wept when cousin died on Eid. And then they were asking him, why are you weeping? He said, tears of the heart. You guys are really weeping because I'm remembering some people. So, weeping is a blessing. And I blessed so the heart. And that's what I was trying to tell you guys about how to set life for what life is and not keep it. She spoke about I talking before reality versus reality that you get the point. So please let's take these things for what they seriously are. And then also Allah revealed positive. I don't know where that's so let us decide who Allah for mechanics bounds for the one that you is father-in-law. For all our dead, our fathers, our mothers, our brothers and sisters, and ourselves, let us put mafia our own because when our no one day or the other, even with 50 years from now, she can stay like Allah.
Dr. Azizat Muhammad, thank you. Before we go, let me move right here. I get this book is speaking to the discussion that we just had, and I've not even gone through it, but then it says sometimes people doesn't tell you, God doesn't tell you that. This program is looking for marriage, and one of our stars, Azan, Idris Tahir. Want to get a copy because people are not take it from here and then. Yes. On that note, until when we come and do again next 2 weeks, inshallah, that's 1004. Okay, I've been told that this is what we are going to be talking about in the next 2 weeks. Secrets of the game, decoding the top 1%, team builder, business and personal development. All of you who are in business, entrepreneurs, this is very nice talk for all of us. So 2 weeks from now, the place will be the MICA Center, recent schools, 1004 estate.
The 5th of July.
Yes, 5th of July, that should be next year. Okay, the name of the speaker is our brother Alaji Adedokunwa. It's going to be an interesting time. So come with your friends and your family. Even if you see your enemy, tell them to come with you. Will that make it easy for all of us? Now they go and play our broadcast.